Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a quick short flight in the BF109 G2. Now before we get into today's flight plan, I just wanted to say that at present this is actually one of my favorite planes to fly within the sim. It's an absolute joy. The rendering is beautifully done. All the control surfaces are there, including the castered tail wheel. The model, as I said, is absolutely beautiful. The detail is nothing short of superb. The flight model's there, the engine simulation is there, down to carbon fouling on the spark plugs, and you've got propeller torque as well. This plane is a real joy to fly. It's a bit tricky at first, as we'll kind of get into in our flight, but once you get the hang of it, really can't say enough good things. Right, so let's get into it. We will be starting out on a small grass airstrip in the vicinity of Belleville, Ontario, that being Charlie November Uniform 4. And from here we will be following the Bay of Quinte, this being a VFR flight plan, until we reach the end of it, at which point we will turn right to heading 272 and follow the northern coast of Lake Ontario until we get to the vicinity of the Oshawa Executive Airport, that being Charlie Yankee Oscar Oscar. We will then turn left to heading 245 and continue following the northern coast of Lake Ontario until we get to Toronto City Center, Charlie Yankee Tango Zulu, where we will be touching down. So we're here in the cockpit of the BF109. We're going to get the engine going, and then I'll quickly talk about some of the challenges that we're going to face during takeoff. To get started, we are going to turn on the battery. We're going to push in the circuit breakers for the generator and the propeller pitch control, as well as the starter ignition, inertia, and the fuel pump. Next, we're going to select the open position for the radiator control. And we're going to select both fuel tanks as well as both magnetos. To get them out of the way, we're going to set our pitch for takeoff as well as our flaps. Right, so before we start the engine, we're going to crack the throttle slightly. Make sure it's primed. Oh, it's actually over-primed, but we should be okay. And do a quick double check of everything. Should be good to go. So we're going to hit the inertia starter, let it get to about 15,000 RPM, and then we'll pull. Right. Got off to around 1,000 RPM. Close the canopy. Take care of some of that noise for us. Move the top control to auto, and we'll bring our propellers up to the 12 o'clock position. We will do a quick test of our magnetos now. 1 and 2 are working fine, and same with the fuel tank valves. Both are working fine. Next, we will push in the rest of our circuit breakers. And now, before we get into the air, we can put our first heading into the compass, which is going to be 249. Taxiing can be a little bit troublesome. You have to give it full rudder to compensate for the propeller torque. However, given the limited parking spaces on this airfield, we're actually all ready to go from where we are. Another major challenge for taxiing is the fact that the engine is in our line of sight, and there's only so much that you can see. Right, the last things to do before takeoff are we're going to lock our tail wheel. Then we're going to give it full right stick and full right rudder. This is to combat the propeller torque. And then we're going to release our parking brake and we'll get in the air. Going to slowly come up to 1.1 ACA.
gear and flaps up. Propeller control to automatic. Gonna slowly release off of some of that rudder. Alright, we're in the air. And we've taken up our new heading. We're gonna roll back some of that takeoff pitch. Bay of Quinte. We will follow it. Once we reach the end, we will turn to our new heading of 72. Right, so something else that's important to take care of is the carbon plug fouling. Most of that would have been built up during takeoff. I believe below 1,000 RPM, or below 1,500 RPM rather. The engine will build carbon fouling. I could be wrong on the exact number. The sun is going to unfortunately be in our eyes for most of this, but we'll make the best of it. Looks like we're coming towards the end of the Bay of Quinte. Our new heading is 272. We will punch that into the compass. Right, we've got that in, we're going to return to it. So between the compass and the coast of Lake Ontario, we shouldn't have too much trouble finding Oshawa, but even if we don't, Toronto is pretty hard to miss. So even in flight, the propeller torque is something that you need to manage. Right now I'm giving it a little bit of right stick, and if I let go, you'll notice the plane slowly starts to roll left. And if I throttle up, it becomes even more pronounced. Notice the plane wants to roll left as a result of propeller torque. We'll drop some altitude and fly down by the water. Water is remarkably calm today. This is, of course, live weather. The sim is able to track real-world weather and implement it into the game in real time based on the region that you're in and the altitude that you're at. So climbing back again and coming a little bit back inward now. Looking down to our left, we've picked up the 401. And we will follow it through to Oshawa. If you aren't familiar with Microsoft Flight Simulator, one of its key selling points is its ability to render the entire world on one-to-one scale through Microsoft's use of big maps. If you were to travel from one location to another in the sim, it would take you the same amount of time to complete that as it would if you were flying from those two points in real life, of course depending on the aircraft and whatnot. One of the other selling points is, of course, its graphics. It is a quite demanding game, but boy, do they do it well. Just keeping an eye on our fuel there on the bottom right, we hardly use any at all. Now, part of that is, of course, because I brought a drop tank with us. I tend to run that on the aircraft because most of the flying I do is a little bit longer in duration. So we're over Oshawa now, but before we turn to our left, we'll take in some of the scenery. So to our right there is Oshawa's Executive Airport, and just next to it is the Ontario Regiment Tank Museum. If you haven't visited that, I would highly recommend it. Right, so we're going to put 245 into the compass now. And we will make our left turn, and that will bring us towards Toronto. We'll link ourselves back up here with the coast of Lake Ontario. So we're going to go ahead and drop down to the water again. start to see some of Toronto coming into view. Start climbing again. Ahead of us there is the Toronto skyline. Coming over the Toronto Portland now. Up ahead of us is Toronto City Center, but we'll do some flying around Toronto before we come in for our landing. Out towards our left is going to be Mississauga. So as we turn around back towards Toronto City Center, we're going to want to start prepping the aircraft for landing. To begin, we're going to set our puff control back to manual, and we're going to bring our propeller pitch back up to 12 o'clock. We're going to be careful to keep our RPM at a reasonable rate while doing this. There we go, so we're around 12. Bring the RPM back slightly. Next, we're going to want to trim the aircraft for landing. We're going to bring it back to -3. Alright, pitch is at -3. Next, we're below 300 kilometers an hour, so we can start with our first set of flaps. Alright, flaps are down to 20 degrees, and we're at 250 now, so we're going to go ahead and bring down full flaps, as well as our landing gear. Two green lights, our gear are good to go, and flaps are down. We are a little low here, so we'll hold some of that altitude for as long as possible. The glide and approach speed in the BF109 is around 200 kilometers an hour, which we are holding at the moment, and you'll very quickly notice another large challenge of this aircraft is keeping visibility of the runway while on your approach. We're a bit left. When we get over the threshold of the runway, we'll want to be about 180. Although that's sometimes easier said than done. Alright, we're on the ground. Bring the throttle back up to have about 1,000 RPM. Unlock the tail wheel, and we will taxi to parking. So, as I mentioned towards the start of this video, taxiing can be quite troublesome. Again, just that engine being in the way on a tail dragger makes it quite challenging. We're keeping full right rudder here just to deal with, again, some of that propeller torque. Parking brake on. We can let go of the rudder now. We're going to go ahead and relock our tail wheel and bring our flaps up. Also reset some of that trim. Going to bring our radiator to the stop position. Clear that plug fouling. And shut it down. Bring the fuel selectors back to off, as well as the magnetos, and we will kill the fuses. Right, now the aircraft is shut down. Go ahead and open the canopy, and we'll drop that sun filter. Thanks for tuning in.